Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new here. My name is Amber and today I'm going to be combining three, technically, of my favorite things for today's story. One of those things is the paranormal, the other thing is creepy games, and the third thing is, oddly enough, royal history. Now, anybody who knows me even a little bit personally knows that I absolutely love the royal family. I am a deep royalist at heart. I was also raised to love the royal family. My family is very British. So it's just always been in my life. So today I thought I would cover one of the games that I know I played as a child. And I'm sure everybody has heard of it before, but kind of talk about not only the game itself, but also the origins behind the game, which is how the royal family kind of ties in there. So today's game that I wanted to talk about is Bloody Mary. Now, for the longest time, and I think because it's just kind of gotten lost in a lot of things, Bloody Mary has now become this very widely popularized, scary game that you play in the bathroom with the lights off and you say her name into the mirror and then she's supposed to appear to you. And it's also, I think there's a movie that came out recently. I haven't been a huge fan of a lot of new movies that are horror because I feel like they're trying really hard to be horror movies, and I'm more of a psychological thriller person now, but that's a whole nother video, I'm sure. So Bloody Mary in folklore was a legend consisting of potentially a ghost or a phantom or a spirit that you have conjured yourself to reveal the future. She is said to appear in a mirror when her name is chanted repeatedly, and she can either be benign or malevolent, depending on the historic variations of the legend. Now, Bloody Mary appearances are mostly witnessed in group participation play. I was told, I remember when I was a kid and this came about, that we did it by yourself. Like, you literally did it by yourself in the bathroom. And I think even when we did it, you had a candle that you had in the bathroom with you, and you were supposed to chant her name over and over again, and then you blew the candle out, and you were supposed to either see her or not see her. So I'm just going to go over the ritual aspect of it, and what it used to be, kind of. So it says, historically, the ritual encouraged young women to walk up a flight of stairs backwards, hard, holding a candle and a hand mirror in a darkened house. As they gazed into the mirror, they were supposed to be able to catch a view of their future husband's face. There was, however, a chance that they would see a skull or the face of the Grim Reaper, indicating that they were destined to die before they would have a chance to marry. Today, in the ritual, Bloody Mary allegedly appears to individuals or groups who ritualistically invoke her name in an act, and it's done by repeatedly chanting her name in a mirror placed in a dimly lit or candle-lit room. In some traditions, the name must be repeated 13 times or some other specific number. And then she allegedly appears as a corpse, a witch, or a ghost, and can either be friendly or evil, and sometimes is seen covered in blood. The lore surrounding the ritual states that the participants may endure the apparition screaming at them, cursing them, strangling them, stealing their soul, or drinking their blood, and even potentially scratching their eyes out. None of those things sound very fun, in my opinion. And the modern legend of Hanako-san in Japan also strongly parallels the Bloody Mary myth. Now, in the modern edition of the Taunting Bloody Mary thing, they've also said to have a baby, like a doll baby with you. And that kind of section of it is how it ties into the royal family. It's kind of a weird thing. I remember doing it, and I did it as a child, and I didn't see anything. I thought it was just like a fun little game that we did to scare each other, and that was that. So then I kind of looked into the story behind it even back then, and there are 3 potential women that are said to be seen in the mirror when you play this game. So the first one, and the one that I mentioned tied into the baby thing, is Queen Mary I. Now, I don't know how extensive your knowledge is. I won't go too into detail because I could probably make like an entire 12-day documentary about the royal family, and that wouldn't even be enough. But Queen Mary I knew her very much as Bloody Mary. Now, that was for multiple reasons. One of those reasons was that she was responsible for burning nearly 300 Protestants at the stake in her attempts to make England more Catholic. Keeping in mind that the royal family is also the head of the church and the head of the state as well. So there are those 2 ties. Unfortunately, she had brought so much death into the world, she was not able to bring any life. And they figure that basically God punished her. Basically, they feel like God punished her by not allowing her to have children. So she was almost plagued in a way with false pregnancies, miscarriages, stillborn. Even though she looked pregnant to everybody and even said that she could feel the fetus moving, and when she was a few weeks away from the expected labor, she was bedridden and the doctors prepared her for birth, but the baby never came. And it then became apparent that there was something going on, and she actually started going into a lot of false pregnancies because she wanted a child so badly to produce that male heir to continue on her family legacy on the throne, that she was just tricking her body into thinking she was pregnant. So when she went through multiple pregnancies and false pregnancies and everything like that, they basically just said, like, this is God punishing you. Sorry, lady. Which is really sad for her at the end of the day. Like, if you want to be a mother so bad and everything in the world is literally telling you this is never going to happen. So that's contestant number 1 for who may appear to you in the mirror. Which also brings back the point that if you do the whole ritual with a baby doll in the bathroom with you, that's kind of rude, really. Contestant number 2 is also a queen, and it's Queen Mary of Scots. And even though she may not have killed people the way that Queen Mary I did, she seemed to have death follow her. And by that I mean she had been set to marry her cousin, the Earl of Darnley, and it happened that somehow he was stabbed 56 times in front of her by a mysterious man, and it was while she was pregnant. Now, according to this whole thing, they were actually very suspicious that potentially she had something to do with his death, or that it was a secret admirer who had something to do with his death. But then it actually came around to be that she ended up marrying one of the suspected murderers of her cousin. So It's just a lot of weirdness surrounding that whole thing, not to mention the trauma of watching somebody in your family be stabbed 56 times in front of you while with child. Once she had her son, who was John, later became the King of England, she went to her sister Elizabeth for protection. Now, Elizabeth feared that there would be an uprising for Mary to take over the throne just from her own kind of things going on, and she actually had her cousin thrown in jail, and she was imprisoned for 19 years. So this was because there were a lot of conspiracy theories actually whispered in Elizabeth's ear, driving her to believe that Mary had these elaborate ways of trying to escape, and that she was finally sentenced to be beheaded. This is kind of where it gets a little weird, because when the executioner went to kill her, he actually missed more than once. And it took quite a few swings to actually behead her, and then it is said that her body and her face actually still lived for a few moments later, and that people actually watched her face try to speak, and try to actually say something after she had been beheaded. So it's just between things like the gruesome death and all of the bloodshed that happened around her kind of plays into the factor of her being option number 2, who may be the more benign and actually more caring aspect of the Bloody Mary myth. The third one, which is less likely, and some people may get a little weird about this, is Elizabeth Bathory. Now, she was known as the Blood Countess, and she was actually part of a Hungarian royal family back in the 1500s, and she is actually proclaimed to be one of the biggest female serial killers in history. And some people speculate that she is actually the background story for Dracula and vampires. So she had an unquenchable thirst for killing and got away with it because of her wealth and the fact that the king of Hungary at the time actually owed her money, not the other way around. So what happened was that hundreds of girls strangely disappeared in her castle. There were also tons of reports of cannibalism, beatings, stranglings, stabbings with needles, and even lacerations from her own teeth. They have no actual idea of the official count numbers of how many girls died in her castle, but the estimated number is over 600. Yeah, 600 girls were said to have been killed by this woman in her lifetime. Now, you think about that, it does make her a fairly strong candidate for being Bloody Mary and being very vengeful, coming for you and trying to take your life, really. I think it's, out of all of them, I think they're all very high candidates. Of course, for me, I could, like I said, put Elizabeth down kind of further at the bottom of the list of women that it might be, just because I think it's, although very terrifying, it's a little less likely that it was her in the end of things, just because her name wasn't Mary, so why would she come to that chant? The other two, however, I think would be very good contestants for being the evil side versus the apathetic side of the Bloody Mary myth and legend, and just, yeah, kind of wondering who you're going to meet in the mirror. A lot of people still play this game today, and I know I haven't in probably 18 years. I was really young when I did mine. But yeah, I think it's interesting to see people's reactions and the things that happen to them and the way that the game goes for them. And maybe it'll be one of those women that you're seeing when you play the game in the mirror. I think that's all I have to say. If you guys have any other theories about who Mary might be, please leave them down in the comments. I would love to hear any other theories that maybe I should explore or that you've heard before in your travelings of the Bloody Mary tale. And if you like this video today, please give it a thumbs up because that makes me super happy. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notifications because I upload a video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's right, 3 days a week. I look forward to seeing you guys again. Have a good night, guys.